Hey everyone, it's FLAK Fire. Battlefield 5 was heavily criticized for its interpretation of World War II. Players complained about the locations, vehicles, weapons, cosmetics, basically anything you can think of. The game lacked an authentic feel, and the phrase, "it doesn't feel like World War II," was one that I heard countless times. I've done a couple videos on that topic, which you can check out in the video description, but today I want to talk about a game from an indie developer that's looking to truly represent that unseen and unheard side of World War II. If you're a fan of World War II games and interested in history, you'll know there's a place we basically never go: Poland. And that's wild considering it was the first nation attacked and continued to resist Nazi occupation until the end of the war, most notably during the Warsaw Uprising. In video games, the fighting in Poland always gets ignored in favor of more sellable parts of the conflict, like D-Day, and that's a real shame considering the country suffered terribly and Poles made some incredible contributions to war efforts, fielding expert pilots, taking Monte Cassino, and even cracking German secret codes. Battlefield 5 missed the opportunity to tell these stories, but developer MS Games is diving into the Polish experience with the game Land of War. Although an indie studio, MS Games is located in Poland, which means you've got some very passionate people telling a story very close to their hearts. Keep in mind what you're seeing here in the background is pre-alpha, still very much a work in progress, and much of the video doesn't have complete audio. Now, Land of War follows the journey of Private Piotr Kowalski, beginning on September 1st, 1939, with the Battle of Mokra. The battle was one of the first in World War II, and it was a victory for the Polish army. It even featured an armored train and tankettes, which developer Sebastian Binnick says will be playable vehicles. Binnick also confirmed that Kowalski will be involved with the Polish resistance and the British Special Operations Executive, or SOE. Land of War will touch on some battles between 1941 and 1944, but will uniquely be focused on the outbreak of World War II. Binnick says Land of War will also feature real-world locations, painstakingly recreated for the game. Developers actually traveled to the battle locations, took reference photos, studied books, visited local museums, and even spoke to some of the site custodians. The most iconic location we've seen so far are the Warsaw Gasworks. The location was significantly damaged during the fighting in 1939. Other locations tentatively include Velion and the Hel Peninsula. For each location in the game, developers reportedly dug into which army units were involved there, and as a result, what type of equipment, weapons, and uniforms could be used on both sides of the conflict. And one of the most interesting things that I've heard from developers about their attempts to balance realism and fun, they say that their goal was to keep the locations graphically attractive and interesting to play. But some locations were so iconic that they actually adjusted the game's plot to better suit them. Similar to Battlefield games, developers also wanted to show lesser-known conceptual weapons, native to the Polish theater of war and not utilized in the later stages of World War II. Some of these include the Morse submachine gun and the WZ-38M semi-automatic rifle. Players will be able to practice with guns they discover in the game using a separate practice range mode. Land of War is modeled in the same vein as early Call of Duty and Medal of Honor games, with its combat described as, quote, clean and simple gameplay with intuitive steering and plenty of enemies to kill, end quote. It's currently a single-player only experience, but Binnick says if the game is well received, they will likely add a multiplayer component. Land of War doesn't have a hard release date yet, but will be available for PC sometime this year. Based on what I've seen, there is some real potential here, especially from an indie studio. I also think the decision to make the game a single-player experience is a smart one, rather than create another multiplayer title in a market increasingly saturated with indie World War II games like Days of War, Hell Let Loose, and Postscriptum. I am curious to hear what you think, however. What are your thoughts on some of this early pre-alpha footage, and would you play a World War II game set in Poland? Tell me in the comments. In the meantime, you can add Land of War to your Steam wishlist if you might want to pick it up in the future and keep an eye on its development. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe. Make sure to tap that bell to get notifications of all future videos. I also want to take a minute to say thank you to everybody who shares my videos, because lately YouTube is just given up on showing them to people. I don't really know what that's all about, but anytime you share one of my videos, it is much appreciated, because YouTube is just doing its own thing. So, with that said, thanks for watching.